This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome on board your live safari. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. We're sitting with a cheeky little herd of elephants. My name is Steve Folgenbridge. I'm joined by Niels on camera, and we are very excited to have you on board with us on this wonderful Sunday afternoon. Now, if you have any questions, comments, please send them to hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, or throw them in on the YouTube chat stream or on Twitch. We would love to hear from you, as our lady on the right there has just had a little bit of a toilet break. Now, a cheeky little boy in the road. We've had these elephants around camp for a majority of the afternoon. They've just moved out from Galagopan where they've had a drink, and now these teenagers are being quite pushy and shovey with each other. It's always wonderful to see elephants playing. Allow you to listen. The sound of ivory clashing. Always a nice way to start the afternoon. Elephants, they're always interacting, you see. A little bit of submissive behavior there. Do you see how that elephant closest to us slightly turned its shoulder? Two boys at the back also playing. This one has now completely turned its back on the other individual. Said, no, I'm being submissive now. Don't hurt me. Put my bum in your face. Oh. Peaches, elephants are so magnificent. I love spending time with them. They are entertainers of note. They are always busy. They are always doing something. Whether it be standing still, they are still moving and doing stuff when it comes to dust bathing. This guy's got some tricks. Got some technique there with a bit of bark. He was twisting and throwing around in his head. I wonder what he'd be like with a little yo-yo. I reckon that would be... Elephants can paint. I've seen wonderful videos of elephants painting. Don't ask me to paint. I can draw stick men, and that's about as far as it goes. But these are remarkable, excuse me, remarkable animals, and we are blessed to spend time in the presence of giants. It's a really decent size herd. In fact, we found them a little while ago, and there was at least 5 or 6 really small little babies. Hello, George. That's a very good question. You want to know if elephants often have territorial displays? This guy is not having a territorial display. He's just showing what elephants can do. Elephants are not territorial, George. They have got what we call a home range, and the breeding herds will move in and out of these home ranges constantly, not in a territory. A very large area that's got enough water and food to sustain them, and they move seasonally for food and water, and males will come and go between those herds looking for females in estrus. And the males are not territorial, but when they do encounter a breeding herd, they will have competitions between each other to see who's bigger and stronger and who has the right to mate. And that is quite an intricate process. There's a process known as must that elephant bulls go through, And that heightens the testosterone levels and the aggression levels of elephants. There you can see he's a young boy. He is way too young to be going into must. These little teenagers here that are hanging out with the herd, and they will follow the herd and learn for a long time. Can we have a look at the back there? Sorry, Niels, those elephants just at the back are doing a little bit more pushing. There we go. This is what teenagers do when they hang around the herd. They're always pushing and shoving. And the techniques of pushing with the face and the body is a technique that the males will use when they're older, when it comes to competing for females. And obviously the bigger the male, the heavier he'll be, the stronger he'll be, and the more prime he'll be for breeding. And must is a wonderful process that these elephants go through that allow young elephants to mate at times when the bigger bulls are not in must. But we're going to carry on with these elephants, and andBeyond Ngala is out and about this afternoon. I wonder what it is they've got for you.
Good afternoon, everybody. We have started this wonderful afternoon safari with the same pride of lions that we left them this morning, and we thought the prospects of something happening were just way too good, and so we decided to race here. Myself and Owen have put down our anchor, and we're going to stay here the whole day, and so we can, or the whole afternoon at least, so we can literally watch these lions, watch the waterhole, and just figure out what is going on. See, there's a couple of lions that were glancing up. There was a big flock of vultures that came down to drink. They have dispersed, unfortunately. But my name is Eric. Welcome to andBeyond Ngala, and behind cameras is Owen as usual. And so what I found really interesting about this pride of lions is we actually thought they might have moved off, but they moved maybe only about 20 or 30 meters west, so into the bushes, and they're all sleeping with their heads down, and they must have heard the vultures circling, because every single one of the cubs that we can see in frame all glanced up and they started watching those vultures, which tells me that they're able to recognize what a vulture is and why they need to watch it. Vultures could lead to some potential food, so it's quite important for them to watch and watch their behavior. So I found that was really quite interesting. Seems like the majority of the pride, though, I mean, it's still nice and hot, but the breeze is really nice. And what I love about the position that they're in is they're in the shade. There's long grass around them. There's lots of cover. There's lots of shade. And, I mean, it's just past 3 o'clock, so these general game species like impalas, wildebeest, zebra, they could be coming down as early as now to go and have something to drink. And we just feel that these lions are in a prime position. There's one that's just gotten up. Looks like one of the older sub-adults. So eventually we managed to see the whole pride, and it's all of them except the two males, so the two Ross males, and then the two newest additions to the pride, so they're not here yet. Can even hear some impalas still rutting. So we heard them this morning, heard them this afternoon, and they might be getting closer. Yeah, so we might play around with a few different positions and see what other species are around this waterhole, but we're not moving more than a few hundred meters this afternoon. So whilst we have a look to see which members of the pride are here, let's go across to Lauren.
We had a beautiful lilac-breasted roller for you, but it decided to fly off, so we've swapped it for a not-so-colourful starling, way far off in the distance. Yes, not ideal, but it's still an animal on this hot, sunny afternoon. My name is Lauren. I do have BK on camera today. This is my last drive, so you all know what I want to see. I want to see spots, be it hyena, Be it leopard, I don't mind. I want to see spots. I checked in at the hyena den already and no luck, I'm afraid. Nobody's there, but I do know where Ribbon is resting. I've found her resting spots and she was very, very full this morning. So I think once it cools down a little bit, she will go back to the puppies. So as usual, we'll do a loop and then we'll check. But a leopard would be really lovely. Shadulu was on, there's her track, there is her track. And this is not looking good, everyone. I'm going to show you Shadulu's track, actually. I've been looking for this. Okay, BK, I've got a good one. I'm going to get my porky pointer. You know what this means. This is a southern boundary, everyone. This is a goodie. This is a female leopard, and it actually doesn't look fresh. If you were to look at this, you would think possibly this is a few days old because of the wind. Now, I know it's Shadulu because I know she came this way this morning, but you can just faintly see the 4 pads and then that back one with the 3 lobes. Now, what I'm going to do for you all is put my hand down on a slightly softer sand. There you go. And look how fresh that is. This is how we kind of gauge how fresh it is. Can you see how crisp it is at the walls of my handprint, my small little hands? And you can see the sharp edges. You can just see that it looks fresh. Now what I'm going to do is blow on it, although it is really windy. The wind will probably do my job for me. And you'll see straight away how it doesn't look fresh. See, it looks different. So if you were to see my handprint, you would think, that track of Lauren is not fresh. But the reason I know Shadulu's are was because we tried to track her quite unsuccessfully all morning this morning. So this is Gowrie Main, our southern boundary. And the tracks are going to disappear because many vehicles pass this way. I don't see her going in. Oh, yes, I do. Okay. Bye, Shadulu. She is no longer on a property that we can traverse, I'm afraid, which is rather sad, but at least we have the answers as to where she went. She is pushing so far east. She's going to... Tandy's got a challenge on her hands, but because Tandy is a slightly older leopardess, I wonder whether Tandy will just let it be, or whether there'll be a bit of a female leopard dispute. Tandy and Sabui used to clash a lot. I actually witnessed it once. And I think the new enemy is going to be Shadulu. So at least we solved that mystery. Let's head on into Chitwa and you guys pop back across to Steve.
Thanks, Lauren. Good luck. I hope you managed to track down Shadulu. I reckon she's in the drainage line there somewhere, just having a rest. We've managed to catch up with our herders still. Those boys, we finally got past them. Although he gave us a whole lot of nonsense. He was a cheeky little boy. And now we're with the herd. See all the little youngsters, and they're going to go through this little drainage line. They've had their drink, so now essentially they're just slowly feeding until they get to another place, or until they get thirst again, and then they'll slowly start moving back to some water. It's wonderful to be in amongst a herd like this and just listening to the sounds of the grass and the leaves moving. Hello, Dove. You want to know if elephants hurt themselves with their tusks when they play specifically? No, not really when they play, but like children, they do every now and again a little bit too rough, and that's when mum will step in. But elephant big bulls, they have been known to kill each other. Maybe not outright, but we had an elephant, 2 years ago? We found dead on the property that had been injured by a tusk. So the tusks are there for fighting defense as well as for accessing the bark and roots. But every now and again, some big elephants will be a bit little... Neil, sorry, in front of us here, I've got them playing. You've got them. That's it. Down you go. He's now going to count to 3 because he's got him on his back. No, he's up again. How special is that? Now, everybody, when you can find yourself in a herd like this and you can see the babies in the open doing whatever it is that they're doing, you know that things are good, life is fine, the herd is relaxed. They did have a few moments when we first arrived. That's to do with the wind. Wind can sometimes make them a bit agitated, picks up smells. But if this herd was not relaxed, we would not be able to view these animals safely, because they would not necessarily safely, but the babies would be hidden. The herd would react in a certain way, and you'd be able to discern that quite quickly. So it's very important if you are ever find yourself in a vehicle, for example in the Great Kruger National Park driving around, and you find a herd of elephants, you can see the babies and you can hear them or see them eating, then they're generally okay. You can get a little bit closer. But if from a distance there's reactions and the elephants are trumpeting or trunks are in the air or whatever it might be, then rather just switch off and let them calm down. Every day a herd is going to behave differently. Don't think you know a herd or you know an elephant and it's always going to be the same. Some days we're unapproachable, aren't we? Some days we're just not in the right mood. It's got nothing to do with you specifically, but you just happen to be the next thing that comes along. And reading these behavioral cues, very important. One of them is a herd standing dead still. No feeding, dead still. If that ever happens, just switch off, just wait. Almost in unison, the whole herd will start to move again, ears and body. But there'll be a moment where they're all talking, or the big mama is saying to them all, you see this person or this vehicle driving here? If they come any closer, we're going to react. And then nothing happens. They go back to doing their normal thing. The ethics of a safari guide, everybody, is to watch these animals behaving naturally in their natural environment. It's not to be causing any influence from them. It's not to get a reaction. Well, very good. We're probably going to stay with this herd for some time and see if we can get a better bit of light for you. But in the meantime, let's send you over to Mike, who would like to say good afternoon.
So we've got a pretty picture of a beautiful female giraffe who was busy feeding on a bunch of sticks and twiglets. Now she's just on the move looking for something else that's green and delicious. And we're also hoping that she'll come out and give us some light and some laughs. They are such comical animals, if any of you were watching us earlier with that male giraffe that was feeding, or drinking rather, at the Waterhole. So, welcome to Eco Training Pride Lands. My name is Michael Anderson. Behind the camera is Gerrit, as always, making us laugh with lots of dad jokes, and also showing us all the best scenes from these beautiful animals. So this afternoon we've got a bit of an exciting start. Just before the show started, we went out early to try and see if we could locate two lions that there'd been tracks of. And we did find them, these two lionesses. However, they were on a mission, moving very quickly north, and they've unfortunately moved out of an area that we can film. But it's exciting to know that we're here, and that particular group of lions was spotted last night on a neighboring property with cubs. So we're hoping that maybe over the next few days we might just get to see those youngsters coming here onto Pride Lands. We'd love to show you. I mean, it's always nice to see the next generation. They were apparently about 6 weeks old, so that's pretty exciting. Not a threat to this giraffe just yet, but one day they might just come knocking. But as you can see, this giraffe here is blending in very, very wonderfully to this dry winter bushveld, snipping away at the edges of the branches. Just now it looked like she actually managed to get a thorn or something stuck in the roof of her mouth because she was making a very, very funny little face. She's not hanging around though. She just wants to get as much food as possible and then probably head towards a waterhole a little bit later in the afternoon. It's a bit hot right now, so she's probably going to stay feeding amongst these thickets and bushes where she gets a little bit of shade. David wants to hear an animal dad joke. Can you regale us with something there, Gerrit? Gerrit?
I don't like being put on the spot.
Gerrit says he'll think of one, but he doesn't like to be put on the spot. He's under pressure now. Under pressure. Dun, 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 dun. We're gonna throw out a few dad jokes to you, I'm sure, during the drive. He did come up with a funny one just now. We were talking about the fact that the giraffe was feeding on all these sticks and twigs, like it is now. And he said, "Go on, giraffe, stick your neck out." And I thought it was very funny. And so did Emma at FC. So it was funny. But now, as you can see, this giraffe has decided to wander off into the thickets. And now we've just got a beautiful scene of the quiet and soft afternoon winter bushveld. As you can see, it's very dry at the moment. It almost looks dead. A lot of people, when they come on safaris in the wintertime, they often say, "Oh, everything is so dead. What's going on?" It's not dead at all. It's actually amazing. These trees that you see, in fact, the tree just in front of us now, the one that looks extremely dead, that's actually a type of corkwood. And corkwoods are very, very soft, and they store a lot of their energy in the wintertime in the roots. So in Afrikaans, they sometimes call it a kannidood, which means cannot die, because even when they get pushed over, damaged, snapped, half the branches get broken off. All those nutrients and minerals are trapped in the roots, stored in the roots like carrots, and then they grow back once the summer rains arrive, and they can ensure that it can replace those nutrients. So a lot of these trees, although they look very, very dead and dry, are actually doing just fine. It's one of the wonderful adaptations that a lot of these trees have. And they store everything underneath this hard bark in the roots to keep it safe from animals that might want to damage them in the wintertime. Actually, we see a lot of elephants pushing the trees over. A lot of times here at Prrivate, in fact, even in this picture here, you can see on the right-hand side there are a lot of trees damaged by the elephants. Remember, Pride Lands wasn't always a game reserve. It's been a game reserve for a couple of years now, and in that time, elephants have flooded into this area. I'm sure you've all seen these wonderful pictures of elephants swimming in the dams near our camp and around here. So elephants have been really enjoying the place, and they've come with quite a vengeance, and they've been pushing over these trees and damaging them. It's a natural part of the cycle, though. It looks very destructive, and it is, but all these little trees and bushes that have been pushed over create a wonderful home for these small animals that like to hide in these thick things. Right, whilst we enjoy these sticks and the sticky situations around here, we'll send you over to Ngala.
We've decided to just quickly pop into the dam wall to see what we could see from here. And I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind is that nice big group of vultures that is on the ground over there. And this is part of the group that started circling just as we got here, that attracted the lion's attention. And the rest of them now, they've finished their drink, but they're all sitting down there, and it looks like a lot of them are sunbathing. So they're opening their wings slightly and just resting on that nice warm ground. It's quite amazing to see so many vultures like this. You usually associate so many vultures like this with kills, but especially in wintertime, we do see them on the ground quite a lot, especially around these really big water holes. And it's something that they'll return to. So if we come back here tomorrow, we'll probably see a few vultures at least in the same spot. So they tend to come back to the same areas. And within this group over here, I mean, we've been trying to have a really, really good look at some of them. And we're trying to see if we can find any Cape vultures. So the majority of these ones are all white-backed. And it's the most common vulture we get here. And I'd love to see sometimes, if there's one or two that are facing in our direction, you can actually see that white in between their wings really nicely when they're sitting down. But we can't see that. We'll hopefully see it again soon. But the Cape vulture looks very, very similar to these ones. And pretty much the only thing that you look at is a slight size difference. Cape vultures are a little bit bigger. And then the Cape vulture's got a very, very pale eye. So I haven't seen a Cape vulture here yet. There is another vulture species if you pan more to the left, and it's two separate. If they're still there, yeah, they are. So somewhere down there, if you zoom in. No, they. Owen's just called my vultures that we're looking at. And these ones are hooded vultures, so their bills are much, much more slender, They're slightly more separate, and so what tends to happen is these vultures will hang around, even on a kill, hang around the outskirts of the kill, and they'll come in after the bigger vultures have started to feed. So far that's just 2 species of vulture. Let's hope that more arrive. And what else do we have? We've been almost trying to keep, like I've been taking some mental notes as to what bird species we've been seeing. And so we've seen alpine swifts, which are a really, really nice bird to see at this time of year. They've been swooping down and drinking. We saw that this morning. We've got red-billed hornbills, Burchell starlings, 3-banded plovers. I'm sure there's a lot more bird species that we can keep watching out. It'll be quite nice to just make an afternoon list and see how many we can get to just by spending some time around this waterhole. And we've actually also, there's a crocodile at the very, very end of the waterhole. Yeah, close to that marula tree. So it was also doing exactly what these vultures are doing, just soaking up the sun and enjoying the nice warmth before it gets really cold. And then if you go up into the right hand side, there's a lone wildebeest that's doing pretty much exactly the same. So not too much in terms of movement with these animals yet, but this is such a beautiful spot to be. So the only things that we're missing from this morning are those 2 lionesses that we saw this morning. So we might end up going to just have a quick look to see if they're still there.
And what a wonderful place to spend winter afternoons is around watering holes. Smorgasbord of activity. We'll do a little bit of a water point survey today. Go and have a look at all the watering holes on Djuma. Oh, look at that guy lying down there. Niels, can you see him? 2 o'clock, 2:30. Got a little daker just lying here in the shade. Hello. There's a little girl. Can't see me. Camouflage is incredible on these guys. The body is taut and ready to explode away. You can almost see it shivering, can't you? These animals are on a wound up string. Oh, sorry lady. She was just ruminating in the shade. And there we go. That's the classic strategy of a daker called the freeze and flight. They're very camouflaged and they're very still. They just sort of stand there. And then when they've been detected, they run off quickly and then they stand still again. So it makes it very hard to for a predator to actually see their movement. They see the movement and then they stop moving and then it's like, where did you go? Very, very common strategy, especially with the small antelopes. But it's not, it is effective. But we see our leopards, especially Tundi, with lots and lots of daker. Yet the daker seems in abundance. Got a hippo out the water here. Okay, well, we're going to see if we can find this hippo for you. He's just, hang on, 1 second. Sorry. Hello, hippo. What are you doing out the water? I don't know if you all heard the oxpeckers there. Niels, you got him? Oh, shame. Poor fella. He's running into the thickets. He's out and about. The oxpeckers took off. I wonder if you could hear them, and that's what got my attention. There's a big hippo hiding in the shade, but we're going to see if we can maybe get another view for you. In the meantime, I'm going to send you over to Chitra with a bird that Lauren has in the tree.
We just watched this fishy go hunt. The first time I have seen this happen. It caught a bird. It was absolutely incredible. It swooped down. And it's a pigeon. I can't see exactly what pigeon it is from here. If it's a Cape Turtle or the Emerald Spotted. I actually can't tell what bird it is. It's still alive. Wow. Oh my goodness. is now plucking it. You see that? Killed by talons. A feature of the raptors, not by the beak. Killed by talons. I'd really like to get closer, but I don't know. What do you think, BK? It's risky. Okay, I think I'm going to try and get closer. That was unbelievable. We've just had the most bizarre time at Chitwa watching a hyena behave very strangely. Okay, I'm going to go forward really slowly. I hope this bird doesn't fly away. That just shows you fish eagles don't just eat fish. It swooped down out of nowhere and caught this pigeon mid-air. Okay, shall we try from here, Beaks? Just a little bit closer. Yes, many of you are saying gruesome. I know. I don't find things like this easy. Wow. So when we talk about predators, it's not just mammals. There's top predators in every group of species. Even frogs, even reptiles. And that fish eagle swooped down with immense precision and caught this dove or this pigeon. I don't know quite which one it is yet. I'm not sure if we'll ever get to know. He's plucking. Rian, good, nice suggestion. You think it's an African green pigeon, very possibly. It's either a pigeon or one of the doves. Very, very possibly.
Sim from Nsinga, we going
Oops,
out?
that's very loud. I did see a green chest. It's either one of the doves or an African green pigeon. You're right. Excuse that, that's the hippo, not BK. Wow, I'd love to get a different view. I wonder if we can try. Okay, BK says let's try. I think because it's feeding, it's going to be occupied. The other one's in the tree behind. You just see it right there? So other monogamous pair. Okay. Bear with me, everyone. These fish eagles can be really flighty, but I'm hoping because it's really busy eating. Just want to get past this branch. Please don't fly away. Okay. There you go, that's a much better view. Wow. Sorry everyone, if you're a little bit squeamish. Yes, you're right, African game pigeon. Thank you for that. You're completely 100% right. You can see immediately from the face. It's not had any meat yet. This fish eagle is just plucking the feathers. Nicely done, PK. Wow. This is the first time I've ever seen this. The monogamous pair of fish eagles are always here. And I've seen them eat fish, I've seen them hunt fish straight out of water, but I've never ever seen them take a bird. I wonder if he swooped it right out of the tree. There's a jackalberry behind us. But they love this knobthorn. This dead knobthorn you always find the fish eagle sitting on. Prime views of the dam in front of them. We're at Chitwa. a lot of work plucking the feathers off. Many of you are saying this is quite gruesome but awesome, and I agree. It's not easy to watch, but of course we know that's nature, and it's just fascinating to see a top predator hunt like that. It swooped down, but it wasn't until we got closer that we realised it caught a bird. I'm glad we repositioned. I think this individual would have flown off if it didn't have food. I think because it's very busy with the task in hand, it didn't fly off. Oh. So I talk about raptors a lot and where the word raptor comes from. It comes from Latin, rapiere. And they use their talons to seize and grab and pull and kill. This fish eagle's talons would have killed the bird, not its beak. No, don't give us that view. We want the other view. Sassy Cassie, I couldn't possibly comment on the nutritional value of feathers, but you won't see a bird eating feathers. You may see a hyena eating feathers and then regurgitating them, but you won't see a bird eat another bird's feathers. It's mainly made from keratin, but I think it would be very difficult for a bird to digest feathers. They're landing on us. Okay, I'm going to try and reposition once again, see if we can get a better view, but it seems like Steve has found a hippo out of the water.
Yes, well, thanks, Lauren. How wonderful to, well, not so wonderful for the pigeon, but there we go. Nels, you got him there. How wonderful for the fish eagle to have a meal. I was trying to talk about watering points before, and everything just got a bit loud, hearing the oxpeckers. There's oxpeckers there on the back of this hippo. This hippo is littered with wounds. There are cuts and scratches all over its back. He was pretty shy. He's just sort of hiding out in the drainage line here, just upstream of Waterhole watering hole. And it's one of these reasons. Let me move forward. Maybe we get another view. For one of these reasons, everybody, that hippos are regarded as being incredibly dangerous, because you could just be wandering along here and you get in between that hippo and his water, and I'll tell you one thing, the hippo will squash you. Just see his nose there. Can you get the nose there, Niels? If I just go back slightly. Got him there. Can't, eh? Okay, it's a little bit tricky, but we're probably just going to wait here for him. I don't want to give him too much of a hard time. I don't know if he wants to go back into the water, but he's just here in this drainage line. That's why hippos are regarded as probably the most dangerous animal in Africa, because of their ability to be out of the water. You happen to come along and they just run down and squash you. You don't want that. 3,000 kilograms, 6,000 pounds or so. You will not win the race as well, because they run very quickly. Okay, shame, poor fellow. He's been bothered by the oxpeckers. John, maybe he's hungry and he's come out in the daytime. I don't know why he's out in the daytime. It's not very hot. There you can see his back. Niels, have you got him there? Just see him in the shade. It's not extremely hot today, so maybe the water was a bit cold for him. I'm not really sure. Maybe he's just trying to avoid the oxpeckers that seem to find him anyway. But for those of you who've ever been on a bushwalk before, or been through any trails guide training, the sound of oxpeckers needs to bring your attention to the fore very quickly. When I first heard those oxpeckers, I was looking around frantically trying to see what it is that had caused them to fly off. And it could be an impala sometimes, it could be a kudu, and it could even be a buffalo. In this case, well, it is the biggest of the ones that you'll find oxpeckers on, although you also do find them on rhinos. A little drainage line like this. Can you see that bird just down a little bit? There we go, to the right. There we go, middle of the screen. There we go, looks like a bearded scrub robin. Let's have a look. Yes, it's bearded, I think. Hello. Or are you a wide-browed scrub robin? He's looking at the hippo going, "What are you doing here, sir?" I wasn't sure if that was a bearded or a white-browed. But you can actually see by looking at the hippo how many insects there are sort of fluttering around. You can kind of see a little swarm of insects. And no doubt all the birds are maximizing the potential. Because it's not only the oxpeckers that feed off the hippo, you'll have all sorts of insects trying to lather up the blood and the whatever it's oozing. And you'll have other birds that are waiting for the hippo to disturb something, and then they can catch a nice meal. It's not the best image, everybody, but hippos are very shy. You see, they are quite embarrassed about their appearance. If you've ever heard the old African folklore about where the hippo came from, we have a few moments, I can tell it to you. They are quite shy. They don't like anybody to laugh at them. So the hippo was one of the last. This is African folklore, everybody. A wonderful tale. Yeah, he's going to move. Maybe he'll come out into the open for us. The hippo was the last animal created by the big creator. And he was put together by lots and lots of pieces of other animals. Big body. Okay, I'm going to move forward there. We might get another view. Big body, small eyes, small ears, huge mouth. How's that, Niels? Big body, short, stubby little legs, and a skin that dries out in the sun with no hair. So the hippo caught a glimpse of itself in the reflection of the pool and immediately went to the big great creator and said, "Please, great creator, I am so ugly. Everybody's going to laugh at me if I look like this. Please, can I do something? Please, can I hide in the water by day and come out at night to feed? Because, you've made me a grass eater." And the creator said, "By no chance, Mr. Hippo, am I going to allow that to happen. No chance am I going to allow that to happen, because look at your mouth. Your mouth is so big, you'll eat all the fish. You'll eat all the fish." And so the hippo said, "No, I promise I won't. I won't eat all the fish, and I'll prove that by coming out every single day and spreading my dung on the ground where you'll be able to see there are no fish bones inside my poo." Niels, is that going to work for you? Yes. There he goes, busy splattering as we speak. Let's quickly get that. Oh, we just missed that. It's all right. Busy splattering his poo around. It's chomping. And so with that, the hippo was allowed by the creator of all animals. Let me just edge slowly forward here. The creator of all animals, it was allowed to spend its days in the water to keep its skin dry, or wet, should I say, keep it from dehydrating. And then it was allowed to come out at night to feed on the grass under one condition, that it sprays its poo along the way to prove to all the other animals that it does not eat any fish.
We have just been watching this in amazement. Of course, it's not so easy to watch, but This fish eagle has been so meticulous about which body parts it eats. And I know that's not pleasant, trust me. I find it really difficult watching things like this in nature because I'm a big softie. But it's also fascinating at the same time. So if you are squeamish, I am sorry, but it's very delicately picking out each organ by organ. And why it's doing that is because the organs are the sort of, they harbour the minerals and vitamins. Vitamin A, B, C, D, K, zinc, calcium, potassium, all the important minerals that we also need are harboured in the organs, not the muscles. And that's exactly why you'll see cats also eating the organs first, like the livers, the kidneys, the heart. And although this pigeon is very, very small, it will still have vitamins and minerals within its organs. Oh my goodness. Okay, I didn't expect that. It just ate the food. Okay. I retract my words. It's not always going for the organs first. Yummy. But generally speaking, it's the organs that most carnivores of any sort of group of animals go for. And then the muscles. Brains and eyes, as horrible as it sounds, also contain a lot of nutrition. This has been one of the most incredible sightings. George, I don't think so. Fish eagles are normally found around bodies of water. But of course, as you can see, and I'm sure I don't need to explain, they don't just eat fish. And we always find this monogamous pair at Chitwa Dam, but I would not say they're the most common eagle. It's tricky because in summer, Wahlberg eagles are very common to see. They're migrants, so they will appear for the summer season and then they'll disappear again. We see tawnies quite a lot. Tawny eagles are very common around here. And sometimes marshals, but I wish we actually saw more marshal eagles because they're absolutely incredible. But I think if I had to say what is the most common eagle that I at least see out here, it would be the tawny. I saw a long-crested eagle one time close to Chitwa, but they are really not common for this area. That was quite a rare sighting. And this fish eagle could take down something bigger than this pigeon. It obviously just saw an opportunity and was hungry, but really it could go for something much bigger than this small African green pigeon. Look at that sharp beak. That's for shearing and tearing flesh because they don't have teeth. They don't have the carnassial shear that cats have. So kill and seize and grab with the talons, tear with the beak. It's also got to balance. It's very windy. It's perched on this dead knobthorn. And it just waited until that pigeon died. Gee, I agree, it's a lot of work. And that's probably why they prefer fish, I would imagine.
The elephant's central.
I think that's Steve. That's probably why they prefer to swoop down and seize fish. That'll be far easier than to pluck the feathers off a bird. many different species of birds are considered raptors. It's not just eagles. We've got hawks, kites, falcons, and owls. Vultures can also be considered raptors. But they do mostly eat carrion, and they're more closely related to storks. But depending on the vulture, they can be considered raptors. Okay, I think I'm just going to sit tight here a little bit longer and see what else goes down at Chitwa Dam.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
To come back to the big pride of lions that we had this morning, we did a quick little loop to where we left the two relatives of these, I guess. And it seems like they have decided to move off, and their tracks are heading straight into the direction of where we heard that male calling earlier on in the morning. And so another reason to just sit patiently and wait, and maybe we get to hear some lions roaring again tonight sometime. But for this pride, not much at all is going on. We've got this beautiful little female that's grooming, and then one or two other lions with their heads up, but the majority of them are just really enjoying this winter's sun. We have just been commenting as to how chilly the wind is today. We can definitely feel that there's been some sort of snow in the country. But the majority of these lions are all still very nice and flat, but they're not looking completely full, which is also one of the reasons why we wanted to come here. There's just, like I said, there's just so much potential for these lions to get up and start moving a little bit earlier. Hopefully there's some general game species that come down to drink, and these lionesses might take advantage of it. A little bit earlier on this morning, we were discussing a little bit what might happen if the two prides of lions that we had this morning. And if you weren't with us on the show, we had this pride of lions, who I'm sure most of you might recognize as the Birmingham Pride. And then we had two unrelated lionesses at exactly the same waterhole on the opposite side. And they're actually related to this Birmingham Pride. So I think around 2014 the pride split, because it eventually became too successful that it just basically imploded. There was too much competition. And so they split off. The Birmingham Pride went into Ngala. The Birmingham Breakaway Pride, as we refer to them, went more in towards the western properties of neighbouring Ngala. And I was chatting to Barney, who's been here for a long time, and he's actually said that they've met up on a number of occasions. And the most noticeable time that they ever met up was down in the Timavati riverbed, where they had two buffalo, or I think 3 buffalo carcasses between them, and there was a total of 29 lions. So this pride with the breakaway pride all together, and they were essentially feeding off of the same carcass. So they weren't competing against one another. They recognized each other as family, and they tolerated one another. And they spent, I think, the day together, and then they walked their separate ways. So, yeah, I think it's quite amazing that these lions have got the ability to recognize one another. And, I mean, they only see each other probably once or twice a year or so, and they're able to recognize one another. I'd love to see them together. There's been a number of times, I think, on 2 separate occasions, we've seen them very, very close by, but I haven't myself seen the two prides together. And so if any of the viewers have ever experienced two prides joining without too much interference or too much conflict, I'd love to hear from you and see if they are also related like the pride of lions that we have are. I see this lioness is giving its cousin a really, really good lick. And I mean, even now, the lighting is just so beautiful. And now that we're in this thicket, we're protected from the wind, and we can feel the nice winter's afternoon sun on our backs. And I'm sure these lions are really enjoying the nice heat that it's giving us. So in that group is basically where the majority of the adults are. I haven't seen, I actually have, if you own the young male. Yeah, so we will probably maybe just pop around towards the Waterhole, see if there's anything worth our while there before we wait for these animals to get up and start moving around. But I believe there's an even bigger animal waiting for you, so let's go and see what the elephants are up to.
We're actually looking at other birds. Canaries. Now, canaries are so difficult to put on camera. I don't actually know if I've successfully managed it. I think this is the yellow-fronted canary, which is slightly different from the yellow canary. It's got more sort of greys and browns on the back, on the wings, and it's furiously eating here. Don't think it really knows that we're here, because normally you will never get to see canaries around vehicles. They're far too skittish, and they're small and they're quick. Seed eaters. So this one's probably trying to look for some delicious seeds or small stalks of grass, but because it's winter, it's most likely looking for some seeds. It's a really small bird. BK's given you a perfect view. Look how they just blend in here. Yes, I think this is a yellow-fronted canary. How lovely. Now, there's not too much of a difference between male and females. The females are said to be slightly paler, but not by much, and this is because they're monogamous. Oh, the second fish eagle's coming in, incoming. Oh, is he just going to fly on by? Well done, Beaks. It's bird heaven here. This is... Wow. It was this one, the one with the kill, that is first calling to his partner. They're communicating to one another. One's a male, one's a female. I don't know which is which. Wow. That sound is said to be one of the most iconic sounds of Africa, or at least South Africa, the fish eagle. Now, I think if we had just spotted this fish eagle right now, we would not know what it's eating. We wouldn't know. I would possibly even speculate fish, unless you can see feathers. You can just see feathers and a foot. Yes, I probably would be able to figure out it's a bird, but my point being, it's almost finished. It's almost finished. A good Sunday dinner. Thanks, Emma. I didn't even realise it was Sunday. Wow. Now, you will find the pair roosting in the same tree, but you'll also find them far apart. Shelley, great question. I was actually just coming to that. I'm not sure if it would share with its monogamous mate. I think if it was a bigger kill, if there was a lot of meat, I think it possibly would. Because they are monogamous partners. They've made that choice. It's the best lifestyle for them. But a small sort of prey item like a small catfish or a small bird, I'm not too sure. I don't think it would. But the other fish eagle, be it the male or the female, didn't come close. At one point I thought it was going to, but then it went into the jackal bird behind us. Chitwa Dam really is a wonderful place to just come and watch the birds. I wonder if you'll just drop it. So before I forget to tell you, when we arrived here, there was a hyena on the scene, acting very strange. Really strange. I didn't get an ID, but I really thought I saw prominent nipples with suckle marks. So we tried to follow it. It looked very large. I suspect female, obviously. But we lost it, but it was just behaving very, very strange. And then, of course, we came upon this fish eagle. What an afternoon. Now I just need to go and find Tingana, some wild dogs, and Ribbon's cubbies, not all together. Oh, Dreta, you're saying this is absolutely fascinating. I know. It really is. It's so close to us. Normally we wouldn't be able to park this close to the fish eagle. Well, it's because it's feeding, it's distracted, it's hungry. If it moves, it risks losing its meal by dropping it or something else swooping in. So it's paying absolutely no attention to us. And that's why we're getting such fantastic views. BK is doing an amazing job. I'm surprised there's anything left on that pigeon. Quite a substantial meal for this fish eagle to tide it through. Sometimes it's worth just sitting at a dam. You never know what's going to show up for a drink. I think I'm going to explore what else Chitwa has to offer us today, but you guys are going to go back across to Eric and his lions.
Not too much has changed with these lions. There are a couple more, and you just see on the left over there that have got their heads up and moving around a little bit. And what spurred the movement was actually a small little bird called a red-crested koran. And it's I guess slightly bigger than a spurfowl with a much longer neck. And it walked pretty much into the lions, saw the lions and got a massive fright, and it jumped up and flew away as quickly as it could. And that got one or two of the cubs to stand up, and we thought maybe this is the signal that they needed to get moving. They looked at the bird disappear and they flopped straight back down. And so they're not ready to move quite yet. So there's the rest of the ones that we were noticing. And this female in the foreground, if we can have a close look at its belly and see, we can maybe start to figure out. It's a bit tough to tell from here, but those nipples do look like they've been utilized quite recently. So this could be the young female. I'd prefer to see her face. She's got a very, very noticeable face with a clean face with no scarring, and also a very pink nose. So this could be her. She could also be in the other group, or maybe she's left the pride and decided to go and fetch her cubs to bring them to come and say hello to us. And then it's just basically the sub-adult cubs now. So she's in the foreground, and then it's the two tawny cubs, and then the white female, so the younger of the white cubs. So that's the 3 cubs over there, and then the rest of the 5 cubs is in that big cat pile. And just before we left, I did notice, so through the bushes, not the best view of him, but that sub-adult male lion, or the young male, is still there. And so he's done really, really well. I mean, he's being able to walk these large distances with the pride, and doesn't seem to be too affected now. So it just goes to show how resilient, after an injury that could have hindered him and killed him, he's now back up and looking pretty strong. Still got quite a heavy limp though. So I think these lions are still going to take quite a long time to start moving around. And like I say, the really cool thing about our plan this afternoon is we're in no rush to get anywhere else. And so if they're not moving now, we can maybe pop over to that waterhole, see what's going on there, and then we can come back here. But I think we'll send you across to Lauren and see what she's got.
It's going very well. We found a croc. Not a log, but a croc. In the exact same position that, well, it always is. It's not exactly the most difficult animal to track. The Nile crocodile. Don't know which one. I haven't got a view of the tail from here. We do know a few of the individual crocs. Just basking. It's hot. It's a very tricky day to describe. BK's just put his jacket on and so have I. It's warm, but there's a nip in the air. The breeze is cold, and I can imagine this croc is probably just trying to shelter itself from the breeze and also try to warm up. They are predominantly nocturnal animals, and to sort of accommodate for that habit, they have vertical pupils. So their pupils are completely different from the likes of ours. They're vertical, which gives them a very mean look, shall we say. And that's to accommodate for their nocturnal habits. So the pupils themselves can actually become very, very narrow, or they can actually broaden according to the available light. And this helps them with night vision. And it's controlled by muscles. Just like our pupils dilate and contract. It's the same thing, but their pupils are just shaped very, very differently. They do have a tepidum lucidum that we talk about regularly when it comes to mammals and seeing their eye shine and reflective layers. Crocodiles do have this reflective membrane as well, also to assist for night vision. So if we were to shine a spotlight on a crocodile, which we would not do, you would see the eye shine. I hope to not meet a crocodile at night time. There's many animals I hope not to meet at night time. Only good old Swazi. Lions ate my mum. I have not heard your name in a very long time. Good to hear from you. I hope you're very well. And you're asking about the crocodile's jaws. They do have very, very unique jaws, very powerful jaws. And you're asking if we put, I think it was a rubber band. Emma will corrects me on that one, around the jaws, will it be snapped shut? And most likely yes. So although they have a really powerful bite, one of the most powerful bites in the animal kingdom, actually, well, it's very difficult to measure, their jaws are sort of designed in such a way that they clamp. And this is so that when they do find food, such as a floating carcass or maybe a fish, they clamp down and they sort of hold on. It's very, very difficult for them to unlock those jaws. And they move with a sort of biting down force, and therefore to use the force biting up in order to snap the rubber band, they don't have that power. I hope that makes sense. The power is on the clamping down effort of the jaws and not on the sort of opposite way when they're trying to open their jaws. So yes, it is true. If you tie a crocodile's mouth shut with anything really, it's not going to be able to open it. And this is because they chomp quickly, take big chunks of meat to make sure that no one else can steal it from them, and they gulp it down, and the stomach does the rest. But crocodiles, just like sharks, repeatedly replace teeth. So any teeth that are lost, they just replace them. And crocodiles can go through about, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I just got a fright. I'm sure some of you did as well. They can go through about 8,000 teeth in a lifetime. 8,000 teeth. And the teeth themselves don't actually sort of articulate against one another. You can see that. Not like ours do when we properly close our mouth. Our molars at the back sit nicely on top of one another with your front teeth just slightly over your lower teeth, the upper jaw. Crocodiles don't articulate against one another, not like mammals. So yes, lions ate my mum. You are right. But it's fascinating. There's been a recent study on crocodiles. I do love reptiles, and they're very territorial animals. So when they fight, it can get really, really nasty, as with most males in any species, to be completely honest. And they can tear limbs off one another. If you ever see a crocodile missing a limb, well, it's probably a male that's lost it to another male. And this can leave gaping holes in their body. So they live in environments like this dam. I'm sure BK can give you some wonderful views down here, Beaks. You see how green it is, all the algae. There's probably a lot of pathogens in this dam. There's probably a lot of bacteria from the hippos defecating and lots of animals defecating, that it's not exactly the cleanest of environments. So for crocodiles to have these huge wounds, they just seem to heal up rapidly without any infection. It's almost like a miracle. They have this huge gaping hole where there used to be a leg, and they just heal. And considering the environment that they live in, it really baffled scientists. So a study actually tested alligator blood. Now, it wasn't crocodile blood, but it is very, very similar. And they found that basically their natural defense against any sort of invading bacteria or viruses or even fungi involved a special group of proteins, and they called this the complement system. I was just reading this the other day, and it's way more effective than ours. When you compare it to humans, this group of protein is so effective at fighting off any sort of pathogens, and they're extremely resistant to infection. And it was tested, they're very resistant to HIV, West Nile virus, and E. coli. So crocodile and alligator blood is a real topic of investigation with science. Can we replicate it in any way synthetically? Can we copy it in any way for human use? Obviously, we cannot use the blood in our body because that would be a foreign blood and our body would react to that, but I just think it's really fascinating. Okay, I'm going to let this croc do, well, not very much, and we're going to send you guys back across to Mike.
So, welcome back. We are still just driving around looking for any signs on this nice dusty road of any animals crossing in towards the dam. We know that there was 7 buffalo bulls in this area earlier today, so we're actually looking for them specifically, but we'll take anything that comes along. It's really interesting. This afternoon's been very quiet. I wonder if after all that wind and after, the lions moved through this area, I wonder if all the animals have just gone into hiding a little bit. They've got to come out at some point. They've got to get the last of this nice warm sun. But yeah, we're just driving real slow. So you can see with the sun getting lower as it is, you can see nicely the tracks on the road. So that's what we're doing. We're looking for buffalo tracks specifically. But also anything like a lot of hyenas that would come into the area would also give us an idea that maybe during the windy weather something was hunting successfully and the hyenas have come to investigate, which is always quite cool to see. But just taking it real easy. There's no need to... Oh, speaking of which, what is this over here? Thought it might have been a drag mark, but it looks like an elephant was just dragging its feet. We'll keep moving. But that's the kind of thing we're looking for. Just anything that gives us an indication that something was happening here. So that was a elephant that dragged its feet. It was just scuffing for dust maybe. It's quite often what they do. Right, so whilst we just keep an eye out for anything around here, we'll send you over to Steve, who's also looking for some tracks.
Thank you, Mike. Well, we are back. We had a few little camera issues that we just zoomed back to camp very quickly to sort out. We had found another herd of elephants that we were going to spend some time with, and now we found another one. So let's just quickly go in and say hello to the elephants. Ooh! Don't hit the stump, Steve. Elephants don't like it when you hit stumps. That's normally the way. It's okay. We're just going to sort of slowly move down the slope here. The Ellies are actually moving a little bit quicker now towards the drainage line. The wind has really affected them today. The two herds that we've seen are just a bit jumpy in the wind. They don't like the smells that the wind brings. And breeding herds specifically with their little youngsters. Let's just stop there, Neil, so we can get a view of them as they depart into the thickets. They're moving in the wonderful golden light. I don't think me hitting that stump made things much better, should I say. Sorry, elephants. I always find, especially breeding herds, that they don't like to be in the open. And they were quite casually moving in the open, and then they heard our car and they maybe heard me hit the stump, and then they've now moved into the bushes, which is where they feel more comfortable. Elephants feel, especially breeding herds, they feel a lot more comfortable in the bush when they're surrounded by vegetation. A testament to that is that they've all slowly moved in and started feeding. Discussed earlier about the relaxed nature of elephants, and if elephants are busy eating, they're relaxed. Initially they moved off. I've stopped, given them some space. Let's move up a bit there. Every day they'll be different. Every herd. Don't assume because you've seen one herd that's relaxed that everyone's going to be relaxed. The behavior that comes from them in the moment is exactly what you're looking for. David, they were strutting, weren't they? There we go. There was some small little babies with this herd, so I'm going to just stop there. I see this female as she's busy feeding it. They've almost gone completely stationary now in the vegetation. And just hear them. It always amazes me how a herd of elephants can just disappear like that. There's very characteristic sounds of vegetation moving, branch breaking. They stopped. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They're talking to each other. Now suddenly they start moving again. I mentioned that earlier. So they're trying to figure out. When they've got babies, they're a little bit more cautious. Big bull elephants are generally very relaxed. Nothing bothers a big male elephant. But breeding herds are far more attuned to what's going on because they've got youngsters. because they've got to protect the youngsters. They're always aware of what's going on, far more aware. It's nearly impossible to sneak up on a breeding herd of elephants unless you're very, very cautious and careful. But elephant bulls are a little bit sort of blasé about their surroundings, and I've had them almost walking directly into us until they're like, oh, hang on, where did you come from? Leaping, yes indeed. They think that they're camouflaged, don't they? There they are, in the bushes. This one's going to come out and show us how pretty she is. Thank you for doing that. The light is starting to get really, really delicious on these animals. Delicious, is that the right word? I've been taking lots more pictures these last months, and I've been editing. I've started editing the last couple of months as well. First time in my life editing. Starting to really see the colors that come out. If you do happen to get the light in the right place, it is really quite magical. So obviously you don't want to have to edit a picture too much. You want to capture the moment. And I must tell you, it is very hard to really get a great photo of elephants because of that. They're hiding in the bushes, feeding and eating. And we'll see if we can get another view.
That was the most perfect timing. All three of these lionesses have just picked up their heads, and I think they might have just heard one of the cubs. The white males got on up and started moving around, and maybe that rustling just made them pick up their heads a little bit. And we've decided to reposition slightly because we watched at least three of the cubs go and do their number twos, and the wind was blowing straight onto us. So we decided to save ourselves and position ourselves upwind of them. See this lioness, and just look at, as the afternoon's getting late and the sun is getting lower and lower, look at how the grass is just illuminating, and it's exactly the same color as her. It's providing such a beautiful backlight situation here. And we've been seeing a little bit more activity, which has been really nice. So a few of the females, I mean, this one is the first one to show as much activity. A nice big yawn. Yo. And I mean, that's the second or the third time that she's decided to yawn. But the cubs are showing a little bit more sign of life. And so they're walking back and forth from one another. They're lying down. A couple of them are grooming each other. There's the trusty old young male who's hanging on. He's doing so well. And down they go. So, I mean, we quickly drove towards the edge of the water. I saw one zebra that was in the vicinity walking down to have something to drink. But it had chosen its path quite well. It was walking. And it was walking right out in the open with no cover around it, and basically walking straight down to the water, so it would have had something to drink quickly, and it would have turned around and walked straight back the same way that it came. And these lions didn't even become aware of it, so they didn't even know that that zebra was passing by. So George, I mean, lions usually have got pretty decent hearing, and I mean, the prime example was those three that had just picked up the heads after a light little scuffle through the grass. But because of their size, because they're the apex predators in this area, they don't really worry too much about anything, and so they can afford to switch off and have a decent sleep, and that's what these lions do. I mean, they sometimes completely switch off and they don't really listen to their surroundings too much. And, you know, if something were to walk by and it was maybe 50 meters to 100 meters away, there's a really good chance that they would see it. I mean, at least hear it. But if it was further than that, even if the wind was good, I doubt that they would really register. They'd probably also, if they did hear it, they would understand, okay, that's too far for me to be interested in it. And the wind is still blowing from the waterhole to us, where the lions are. And so I would imagine that their first movement would be to just sit at the edge of the tree line and just watch the waterhole, see if they can surprise any animal coming down to drink. And this is one of the cubs now that's got its head up and starting to show a little bit more activity. Almost looks like it wants to spur on some of its siblings, but not really getting too much in terms of a response. Yeah, so again, lion's not moving too much, so Steve has got some beautiful light that we will send you across to go have a look at.
Back with us and our elephants in the yummy light. You just faintly hear them moving through the bushes. They are actually quite relaxed. It's just that moment of them out in the open. The youngsters got a little bit of a fright and charge into the bushes where, as I said, they feel very, very comfortable. Spent a lot of time in the northern Kruger in a place called Porphyry, where there's wonderfully large fever tree forests, but the fever tree forests are shaded and the soil is very, very rich in clay, and almost nothing grows in there apart from the fever trees and a very low layer of grass or forbs. And if ever I saw herds of elephant in there, they were charging from one side to the other, from thicket to thicket. The bulls would casually move through, but the herds would not walk through. They would charge to get to the other side, and then as soon as they got the vegetation again, they would just melt in again and relax. It's almost like the hippo with its comfort zone being in the water. Elephants here in the savannah, these savannas, their comfort zone, especially with babies, seems to be in a bit more concealment. Okay, we're going to try and move around as they've given us the slip, haven't they, Niels? We're going to move slowly down this drainage line because the drainage line is where the water table is best. So lots of trees have still got their leaves on down here. And that is what the elephants are going to be feeding on at the moment. They are very, what we call bulk. Elephants are bulk feeders, bulk grazers, but in these times of year, they are extremely selective in what they feed on. They will be feeding on long grass that's growing in and amongst the bushes, but they'll be stripping bark and pushing trees over and accessing roots, feeding on some leaves as well, but looking for the medicinal and nutrient value in the plants that are around. And that's mainly trees with a small amount of, sorry about my radio, the small amount of grass at the moment. Sort of that grass layer that's shaded and protected from most of the other browsers or grazers, should I say. Hannah, you want to know if elephant herds are civil with other elephant herds? Most certainly. Elephant herds, generally what happens is there's relations between them. I wouldn't say that they necessarily... We've got a white directly in front of us, Niels. Can you see him? A white-crowned, southern white-crowned shrike. Have you got him? A little bit more to the right. There we go, bottom of the screen. There's a southern white-crowned shrike. Wonderful. You might have heard it. It sounds like a squeaky toy. A little squeaky toy you might give to your dog. That squeak, 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 squeak. So elephants, breeding herds, when they split, they can come back together, and generally some of those females know each other. They're very long-lived animals, so basically a couple of sisters might split off, eventually forming a herd of their own. I'm hoping they're going to come through here, forming a herd of their own, and then they have gatherings in the wet season where they come together and they show the babies of the last season. There's this one just over here. No, that is a log. Well, elephants do look like logs. I was hoping to get them in here, but they're quite well ensconced in the drainage line there. So when they do meet each other, they are very, very happy to see each other. They smell each other, touch each other. It is really quite something to witness, because it's like imagining yourself at, what is that? Big stump. Thank you, Niels. I nearly hit a very big stump. And before I break myself and the car and my cameraman's back, I'm going to send you back over to Eric, who I think has got some zebras.
I hope Steve doesn't break the car. That wouldn't be too good. We decided to just have a quick another look, because those lions were doing nothing but sleeping, and these two zebras have just finished drinking. And it's quite interesting. They were walking away from us, and they turned around and they reacted, and they started running almost straight in the direction of where those lions are. And so they might have picked up a scent of something that they weren't quite sure of. There is a lone impala that they might have been a little bit nervous of, and this impala is actually running straight across towards where the zebra are now. Oh. Off it goes, and the zebra are following. And you can just imagine this impala, and it's running straight towards where those lions are going. We'll have to watch that very, very closely. And it's a bit unusual to see that impala all by itself, especially because it's a female. And so maybe that's something that's just made her extra nervous, is that she doesn't have the security and that feel of an extra 50 or 60 pairs of eyes and ears looking out for her. And she's still running, she's zigzagging back and forth. I can just see the movement of her. And these zebras are going straight towards where these lions are too. This is incredible. And the question is, have the lions caught onto it yet? And I mean, if I had to guess a distance, I mean, they're still zigzagging, so they're not going straight towards them. But this is the tree line. I mentioned that those lions in the end of the evening might come out and sit at this tree line to see if they could surprise any unsuspecting victims that are at the water. But they're still at least 200 meters, maybe less than 200, 150 meters away. And you just see how nervous both the impala and the zebra are already. So I'm not going to move too much. I would prefer to just sit here and try not influence either the lions or the zebras, and just see if anything unfolds. The really nice thing is in this little spot, it'll be quite elevated, and so we can see quite a lot further down. Kerry, absolutely, they need to watch out. But I mean, these zebras are very, very, very alert. They've got excellent hearing, their sense of eyesight is really good, and their smell is good. And so if one of those young lions, the young cubs that we were watching now, decided to get up and move, especially, say, that white one, those zebras would be able to spot it from quite a distance away and move away in a safe distance. See, they're not wanting to move too much forward. Unfortunately, the wind for them, so their scent is blowing onto the lions. And with that heavy footstep, the hooves knocking on the ground, perhaps those lions might have reacted. And so it would be, I'd love to see what happens, because that could answer our question that we've just asked. How far can lions actually hear when they're sleeping like that? But it's good to see that these zebras have got their heads down. Now, they are still a little bit nervous, but it does look like they might be looking for something to feed on, which shows that they're slightly more relaxed. And they are now moving, and it looks like he wants to cross more into the open areas where he'll be able to see a little bit better. Maybe that will just calm them down a little bit. So I think these zebras for now are safe. I don't think these lions will react to them. But it's amazing to look at their behavior. I mean, they know that something is up. And I mean, this morning we had those two lionesses on one side of the waterhole, these lions behind the zebra, and then we also heard lions calling from behind the dam wall to the left of where we are, so directly behind where the camera is pointing. Hippo has told me that I'm talking too much. And see, I mean, it's really the one that's just walked into the front is the one that's more relaxed. The other one directly behind it is the alert one, and they look like they're roughly both the same size. That one in the foreground is slightly bigger, and it looks like there are two youngish males. Is that one now in the front is actually quite a little bit smaller than the other one. And so they're walking into safety. It seems like they're safe for now. This waterhole is really producing this afternoon. It's been having such a good time just to be able to sit and watch and listen and look at all of the different birds and the different animals around here. So yeah, we will sit in this spot for a little bit longer before we return to the lions.
Thanks very much. Well, we've been trying to get to another watering hole as well. I think elephants have all been drinking already and moving away. But we've had to stop to show you what I mean by delicious, yummy light, everybody. Look at that yummy light on that kudu. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, she's magnificent. A really decent herd of kudu here. At least 4 adults with at least 4 pretty new young ones. You just have to spend a few minutes with the herd of kudu, and they more materialize and more materialize. Now, she's not very well camouflaged out in the open like that, can you tell? Oh gosh, she's eating grass, everybody. She's probably actually eating some forbs there, not grass. It looks like it could be grass, but a very low portion of diet. In a kudu would be grass. They are exclusively browsers. So if ever you do see them feeding low down like this, you can almost be certain that they're feeding on some small forb, herb, wildflower, herb, whatever you like to call it. But what is very interesting is watch how she steps. How she steps with her feet. As the one foot moves, she practically steps exactly where, she's not doing it now because she's moving, there we go. So when we talk about the direct register in a track, there where her front foot was, her back foot steps directly. So that is a means of silent walking. Got a youngster that's going to cross the road now as well, Niels, just towards this, here we go. She's going to do the same. And the difference between this guy's track and Ngala, for example, because that's a small kudu, so you'd think maybe it's Ngala, but then you would see that there's other tracks of the adult females. And kudu has got a much longer leg, which means a longer stride or gait, so you can actually measure that. Obviously, it's possible to confuse a female kudu with a Ngala bull, it is possible, but when you find a whole lot of them and then some smaller ones, then it's probably a herd of kudu, but it's really worth checking out. That was what I call delicious light, eh, Niels? As a cameraman, that gets you excited, I'm sure. Delicious light always gets me excited. So, we are going to go check a watering hole. And I might cross over to Simbambili real quick, because there was some tracks this morning of a male leopard around One-Eyed Pan that didn't come out. So we might go see who it is, because the tracks look like an animal with a little bit of a right foot sort of limp. Now that is most likely Hukumuri. Yes, sassy kudus are gorgeous animals, aren't they? They are my favorite antelope that we find commonly here. My favorite antelope is a sable, but I've never seen one on this property. But the kudu, elegant horns, beautiful males. I love them. They're gorgeous. Just gorgeous. So we're going to go over to the west in this gorgeous light, see if we can maybe catch up on Hukumuri. So a little watering hole there. Who knows what else might come down to drink. There's still a slight breeze in the air, making it a little bit cool, and potentially animals will be moving, as you've seen. And we're just going to drive off towards the west into the setting sun.
These vultures that we have in the picture in this tree are the ones that we saw on the floor, and so all of them have now moved up, and this might be the spot that they decide to roost for the evening. And again, it only looks like white-backed, unfortunately. No Cape vultures here today. They've got wild dogs at Djuma. Let's quickly go over.
Just in time, everybody. If you'd stayed with us 20 more seconds, you would have found a wild dog having a poo. Hello. Well, we had three of them tracks this morning, just around the corner. Wow, I can't believe it. Here he comes. I get so excited when I see these guys over the moon. Now, they are trying to figure out where impala probably are in the sort of thicket. You can see that this one's looking. I can't tell you right now. It's a male or female. Don't go in there. It's listening. It's trying to figure out probably where its brothers or sisters or family have maybe gone, or maybe they are trying to sort of corral an impala. Going to go back slightly. Sorry, Niels. It gets very difficult with wild dog, everybody, to keep them in frame, because they do not walk very slowly. But for the moment, this one is walking quite slowly. He's trying to figure out where his friends are gone. Woo! I get excited. I get so excited with wild dogs. Niels was, he barely shouted at me. He was going, it's wild dog, it's wild dog, it's wild dog. I kind of saw something in front of me, but I wasn't sure. This is going to get interesting though. Hold on, Niels, to your... Okay, so if they are hunting, it's just over here in the thicket. Can you see it there? I'm just going to keep going, sorry. The tracks I saw this morning were of three first. I found where they crossed and went towards the west. We found them tracks outside this morning, and then I found where it looked like wild dogs, two of them, had had a kill stolen from them by hyenas. And now we found one. So there's a very good chance that there's two, maybe even three dogs. Penelope, you're getting excited. Tell me about it. This is the slowest I've ever driven with wild dogs. I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised we haven't fallen into a hole yet. Now, Niels, do you see it? I know we didn't get the best view, but if anyone's able to give us an identification on that dog. Okay, well, while we try and find out where our hounds have gone, let's send you back over to Eric and we'll just keep looking.
I think I got as excited as Emma in Final Control, and I've actually lost my train of thought completely. I forgot what I was talking about. But we just noticed when we had that single impala and both zebras walking into the bushes straight towards the lions, and we saw all three of them moving away. So I doubt even those lions would have even reacted yet. But it's quite interesting. If we have a look at this tree again, down at the bottom left hand side, there's one or two of those different species, the hooded vultures. And we might be a little bit too far to see from here, but you'll just have to look at their bill. I think it's that one that's grooming there. That one. So that's a hooded vulture. And very, very often these hooded vultures will actually follow wild dogs whilst they're on the move, because they realize that there's a good chance for food. And so when you see a vulture like that, the hooded vulture flying from tree to tree, it might sometimes lead you towards a pack of wild dogs on the move. Now, they can afford to fly like that because they're much, much lighter than the white-backed vultures. So the white-backed vultures rely a lot more on the thermal lift, and so in the morning time, they'll probably be the last ones to leave. So the hooded vultures, if they don't leave tonight, will leave much earlier than the white-backed vultures. And then there are two other white-backed vultures. And then if we pan slightly more to the right-hand side, we'll show you which tree those lions are under at the moment, if we can get there. I think we can. It's one of those tall trees. There's another vulture. There we go. You can see the vulture on the top left-hand side. And that vulture's got its head tucked underneath it. And just in front of that tree is where those lions are resting at the moment. And so very, very close to the waterhole. That's why we were so excited when we saw those zebra and that impala moving towards the waterhole. But otherwise, it's quite quiet, Now, really, this tree is absolutely beautiful, and to watch the sunrise essentially, or the sunset even through that tree is quite spectacular. And it's a tree that most people know. It's a leadwood. It's one of the largest and the hardest trees. So it's been dead for quite a while. I haven't seen it with leaves on, but most of the branches are still pretty much intact, which is really cool. Yeah, so I was saying, it's quite surprising that we haven't seen a lot of animals coming down to drink this afternoon, which leads me to believe that most of the animal activity probably happened pretty much in the middle of the day, between 10, 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I wonder if those animals realize that it's a cooler day today, which might mean that the predators are slightly active a little bit later on in the morning, and so it wasn't not too safe to get you in the twilight hours of the day. Yeah, so David, I know you had a comment about my segment, but sorry, I didn't quite catch it. Oh yeah, beautiful. Yeah, look at that. How's that for a sunset? And the sunset will it's slightly far away from the Drakensberg Mountains, but in the summertime, the Drakensberg Mountains are literally in the foreground as the sun sets. And that's actually quite interesting to see how far the sun moves. We're just pretty much passing the peak of winter, and if we pan a little bit more to the left and have a look at the Drakensberg, you can see, so eventually in the summertime, that's where the sun sets, pretty much in that gap, maybe a little bit to the right of it. And that's a long way. You don't realize, it shifts slowly day by day. I think at the moment it's slowly but surely inching its way back towards those mountains as we get closer and closer to summer. So we've got a hippo, just one hippo in the waterhole that seems like it's starting to get slightly more active. It heard I mean, it was calling. We heard it calling a little bit earlier on. But it's quite interesting because this is a good body of water, especially for this time of year. Bobby, that's a good question. I mean, exactly where those vultures are perching, we usually had a nesting pair of fish eagles. But I think at Ngala there's less water available for the fish eagles. So less water, yeah, I mean, there's more competition, I guess, so you'll only have a few individuals and pairs of fish eagles around, maybe one waterhole or two. I mean, if you compare Djuma and the Sabi sands as fish eagles to an area, say the Chobe or the Okavango Delta, because there's so much water there are fish eagles pretty much on every tree. And so I think they're quite reliant on nice big bodies of water to get some good fish. I haven't seen the fish eagles that we used to see here in the last while, but we have seen them in another big waterhole in the eastern part of our reserve. But I mean, it's this waterhole and it's the other one that holds water throughout the year. So we've been away from those lines for about 15-20 minutes, and I think we might just pop into them and just make sure that they're still there. And I think we'll send you across to Lauren whilst we navigate to the lines.
We've just found Danny Boy the diker. I'm not sure if you can get it from there, BK. And his partner. He has a partner. Okay, let me see. Sorry, BK. It was my fault. There's the two of them. We call this one Danny Boy. Normally really friendly. I'm not sure why it's so skittish today. But that's okay, we've got a brief view. I'm going to head to Treehouse Dam en route to the hyena den. The dogs are somewhere on the property. We were also looking for the dogs. I think the packs got split from what I can gather. And Treehouse Dam is not a bad shout for dogs wanting to come and drink at this time, sunset. So I think it's worth us just heading there, seeing if anything is drinking, and then heading to the hyena den with much hope that Miss Rybon is back with her cubbies. Jenna, oh they do, if you're talking about the wild dogs. Whew. They're called Madash in the local tongue, Shangaan, and it's quite funny because, well, they are mad dashers. Flat dogs are pleasant, but once they're on the move, it's really, really not easy. Through an open area, it's easier, but once they're going through the block, it's very, very difficult to keep up with dogs. So they might not be at Treehouse, but I think it's a really good place to just check. The radio is going crazy. I think everybody wants to see a pack of wild dogs. Treehouse Dam is directly adjacent to the block that Steve is in. Steve is being very brave going into a block after dogs. I don't see anything so far at the dam. Danny, you're saying I've had great sightings. Sorry, my ear of dogs. I think so, my earpiece just fell out. Emma will confirm. Ah, yes I have. I've been really, really lucky with dogs. We had a period of 2 weeks where dogs were everywhere, different packs. And we were really, really lucky. Now, unfortunately, But that's not today, Danny. We will give you a beautiful view of Treehouse Dam. Very peaceful, very quiet. So I think we'll just do a little search in case the dogs pop out, and then it's back to the hyena den.
Right, we've managed to find a friend of ours. If you all remember that day at the dam when we were looking into the mouth of an elephant who was feeding on the leadwoods above us, that was Kumo, and we've managed to find him again. Although Kumo has changed slightly, he used to have a collar round his neck for researchers to be able to follow his movements and understand what he gets up to. He seems to have managed to shake it off. As you can see, the collar is no longer there. Although we do know it's Kumo because on his trunk, between his tusks, he's actually got a small scar, which is healed now. It was obviously done when he was pushing over a thorny or knobbly tree, but it's healed now, so we still know it's Kumo. He's managed to shake off his collar. And these things have a lifespan anyway, so it's often that they fall off and then they have to be retrieved, and then the researchers can collect their data. But yes, Kumo looks very, very happy and healthy. He is busy feeding in this drainage line, or this low green area, just close to Leopard Dam, hoping that he might head to the dam to have an evening drink before he settles somewhere for the night. But it is quite cool, so he probably drank when it was a bit warmer. Now it's very chilly, so it's probably going to only drink again tomorrow when it gets warm again. Oh, he seems to have stopped. What's he doing? So he's plucking at the grasses deep down below these green trees. See, every now and again, do you see he stops? And he stops chewing and feeding. So he's just listening to what's going on around him. So, what's quite interesting about this elephant is that we've been following him. We really enjoyed spending time with this elephant, and we're starting to get to know him very well. And it's actually interesting, the researchers in the area actually, when Taylor was here last, I think about a week ago now, got a message from one of the researchers to say, oh, the collar seems to have stopped moving. And then Taylor and Gerrit got a location of where the collar was, and they went for a bit of a walk and found the collar. So it was really awesome that we get to help with this kind of stuff as well. It's really good to be part of the community around this area. So we'll keep you updated as to what happens. I'm sure at some point, because this is a phenomenally big and very relaxed elephant, I'm sure that the researchers in the area will probably want to recollar him, to keep on gathering that data, because as you know, elephants are one of the most amazing creatures, but also endangered in many areas. So all the information that people can get about these animals is obviously going to be very, very helpful. And we always help with these kind of things. Guides in this industry, we often give information to researchers, and then that helps them, and then they help us. For example, the wild dogs that were here recently, they also often get research, because they're quite rare and endangered. So we do need to help each other as much as we can. So Shelley has asked, how long until an elephant reaches its full size? So Shelley, that's a good question. This elephant here, Kumo, is probably at his full size now, or very near to it. I'd say he's probably close to 40 years old, maybe even a little older. So generally speaking, elephants grow throughout their whole life. They never really stop growing, but they reach full maturity somewhere in their late 30s, early 40s, and that's when they get this huge, massive size. The head gets very broad, the body gets strong, the tusks seem to just become very broad and widely spaced, and that's when you know an elephant is at its sort of full maturity, so to speak. But if Kumo over here keeps growing for another 20 years into his 60s, because elephants can grow into their 60s in certain areas, it's all dependent on their food. They keep growing their whole life. So I think the largest elephant ever recorded was somewhere around 10 tons, which is crazy big. And maybe not really sure how tall, but probably over 4 meters tall, or somewhere near 4 meters tall. So massive creature. But Kumo, if he's in his mid-40s, let's say, he's probably going to be continuing to grow as long as he keeps eating this nice, nutritious food, and then he'll keep growing. In this area here, elephants probably won't reach their full maturity. They'll probably still, reach about 50, but they eat a lot of dry food. Anyway, whilst we watch Kumo and see what he's up to, let's send you over to some lions.
We are back at these lions, and they do look like they're completely flat and sleeping. They have changed positions slightly, which means that they've gotten up and they've walked between 7 and 10 meters, some of the females, and they've gone back down. But we are starting to see them reacting to the noises around them. So starting to hear or at least starting to see them lifting up their heads and listening in direction. 1 or 2 of them are yawning. And it just takes time for them to get up and start their day, start their night, I guess. So this is perfectly normal for lions. I think this is one of the only adults with a bush perfectly framed in her face that's up and moving, or not really moving, but at least reacting to some sounds for now. The rest of them have all gone back to sleep, but what's interesting to me is they're facing away from the waterhole, these lionesses, which might mean that they're not even going to go to the waterhole. So they could be, I think, it feels like the wind is shifting a little bit. So coming straight from the south, it now feels like it's turning and it's blowing more from the north and the east. And so these lions would prefer to walk into the wind. We've got one cub that's just stood up on the right hand side. Over there. But again, move a meter and go and rest. So I wonder how much, especially of the younger sub-adults or the cubs that we're looking at, and the younger females in the pride rely on the cues of the older females to decide when to get up and move. If they look up and see one of the oldest lionesses yawning and stretching, and that's when they know, okay, it's definitely time to move. Now that everything's settled down for a little bit longer, they all seem to have taken the time to just get one last little snooze in before they start their afternoon. You can never get up. You always have to snooze your alarm once or twice. Okay, so lion's not really moving too much yet. I think we might pop our heads into the waterhole one more time, but we'll come back here quite quickly. Hopefully they'll move. But I think Steve has got some buffaloes, so let's go and see them.
You're back with us, and well, we followed our dogs for a while, and then they split, and we haven't been able to find them again. We've got another couple of vehicles in the area trying to help us, but we found some buffaloes in the meantime. And James Richards confirming that the one individual you saw, we eventually saw 2, is part of the breakaway pack that has been seen recently of 4 members with a very pregnant female. So I didn't see a third one. It's not to say that it wasn't there. They are quite tricky to follow, wild dogs. So we have got our ears open and we're listening for any alarm calls. We're going to slowly go around towards quarantine and see if we can find them. But I think they were looking for a steenbok or a duiker, the way they were missioning. Hello, Shenzi. You want to know the average size of wild dog pack? Well, they don't get extremely big because it starts becoming unsustainable. That's why you heard me a moment ago maybe say the word breakaway. But with a group of 4, they could suddenly, out of no time, have a huge litter of 18. So suddenly 4 becomes 22. So you can imagine a group of 2, a male and female, having their babies. Suddenly it becomes very, very big. And then it needs to break away at some point when many of those individuals reach maturity. That's why we get what we call breakaway packs, because it becomes very difficult to feed so many mouths. Very, very special though to find wild dogs. I get, as you probably could tell, I get very excited. The wild dogs have said, "Welcome back, Steve," and indeed it is wonderful to be back. And some buffaloes, wonderful afternoon of elephants. And you know, we talk often about the sort of gut instinct, and I decided at that junction to turn right and let's go see if we could find Hukumuri, and that took us west towards where the dog was just in the road. We could easily have gone east and completely missed them. Those of you who missed the show this morning, just where we are now, we found tracks of 2 dogs this morning. I think it was actually 3, I can't recall. I think it was 3. They crossed here towards where the buffalo are, and then later on we went to go see if we could assist in finding Shadulu, the female leopard, and we found where 2 dogs, it appeared to me by the tracks, 2 dogs had probably made a kill because hyenas had stolen it and dragged that meal all the way back to the den. Shadulu probably heard the commotion. That's what sent her all the way down to where she had been, and she was actually smelling the trail left by the hyenas, and the dogs probably after that they had come in this direction. They were probably lying up in the block nearby where we are now and only started moving a little while ago. So it's amazing what can be done and can be imagined with some tracking. And it sounds like Lauren has made herself her way back onto Djuma. I wonder if you can guess where she is.
Adios. I'm in my happy place. And we have, I believe, Intima and her mother Ribbon, and our 2 cubbies are out and about. They're watching impala and zebra. I'm not sure, BK, can you see those zebra over there? They're quite far off. Just to the left through that gap you can see there's a herd of zebra, probably the same ones from quarantine, who have all made a mad dash away from the madash. Yeah, that was terrible. And oh, the cubbies are interested, especially this little one over there. It's so lovely to see Intima. She gets very excited when she comes to visit Mom. She's classified as an adult now. Sexually mature. She was 3 in February. And Intima was part of a twin litter as well. And sadly, the other half of that litter didn't make it. Her litter mate was called Lamula. Hello, Intima. And they just love their big sister. So the 4 hyenas that we can see in front of us right now, they all are related. I really hope we can get a glimpse of Corky's little cub. But these cubs, both of them, the 2 boys, they're not directly related to Corky in any way. They're part of the clan, they're clan members, but not relatives. And after having Intima and Lamula in 2017, Ribbon actually went on to have another twin litter in 2019, again February, believe it or not. And one of the cubs we lost very early, and then she had Paddy. And unfortunately, Paddy just disappeared before our eyes as well. We don't know what happened to Paddy. And then now we have these 2 bundles. Oh! Careful. And they will know, they will very much know that Intima is also high ranking. Leaping, you said, so cute. I know, it's my favorite place to be. We came earlier, but no one was here. So it just sort of shows you that once it gets cooler and the sun starts to go down, these nocturnal animals start to become more awake. You can see the difference. The one you're looking at is who No, you're not going to get any milk from your big sister. That's not going to happen. Oh, that's very sweet, everyone. And this is Shimbulu. Who I believe to be the most submissive one, but not completely confirmed. Very, very dark in comparison to its brother, Ngwazi. Linda, Polly, yes, you're right, they're so playful. They really are. And it was just so lovely seeing them with Corky's cub, because it gave a really good comparison. You forget what these two boys looked like when we found them at the end of March. And it was nice to see a size comparison, a color comparison, and also a sort of physical comparison. Corky's cub is really not that mobile yet. Excuse me? Under the car. The usual. As long as they're not trying to bite the tires or bite my shoes, we of course shoo them away. But they're venturing further and further from the den these days. It's just slightly worrying when we come here and they're out without any adult. And I don't mean human adults, I mean hyena adults. It's just slightly worrying that they go exploring on their own. So I am of course not going anywhere, but you lot are going to a playful hippo at Ngala.
Here's the hippo. He's being so much more entertaining than those lions. By himself, and he's just basically tossing and turning. He's flicking his head up. He's really starting to get active, and I wonder if he's not going to come out of the water before it gets dark. That will be really cool. A very cool call there. And I was just saying, it's quite interesting to see that it's one hippo with such a nice big water body that we have. Usually we see quite a few more, which might mean that there's another bigger water source around this area, but I'm not entirely sure why he's by himself and why there aren't others with him. But I guess he is in a good spot. If that other waterhole runs dry, the females just need to come and find water and he'll be in the prime spot. And it does look like the sun is just about to disappear. So I'm just going to spend a couple of moments just to stop talking and just let everyone admire the sounds of the African bush as we watch the sunset. It's one of my favorite parts of the day, to just be able to sit and watch the sunset, listen to all of the birds. I think the only bird that was calling in that whole time were Egyptian geese, so not the most exotic bird. But that sun disappears so quickly, it's almost disappeared. So I think we're going to have one last look at those lions, see if they get up to anything. Otherwise we might start making our way back home. But I think Lauren's got some very playful characters she wants to show you.
Now everyone, I do have something terribly sad to announce. Tswazi has just arrived and he's still got the wire on. So there's been a bit of confusion. BK thought he saw Tswazi without the wire, and a few people in the dam cam also mentioned there's no wire. So I'm really sorry, I'm the one that announced the wrong news, but he's here, he's at the den, so I have to call this in. Now let's just take a close look, BK. It's not tight, and I really don't believe it's a snare. I think it's wire. Tswazi really puts his head in the worst places. So I apologize for giving the wrong information, everyone. We thought we saw Tswazi without the wire, and we were overjoyed. So that's technically my fault. But what I am going to do now is just let the relevant people know that he's at the den and they can make a decision. Now, what I want to be quite clear on is I've spoken to Michelle, the manager of Djuma. I've spoken to Stefan, our operations manager. We've spoke to the Sabi Sands. And let's try and get some close-ups, BK, because we can utilize that. Let's see. I don't think it's tight around his neck at all. Can you see that? I wish I could just take it off for him, but sadly I can't. So with regards to things like this, the Sabi Sands make the decision based on the injury. Is it bad? The severity? Based on the animal itself, how strong it is. And they don't always intervene. Now, what I just want to clarify here for you all is that if this wire is really not damaging Tswazi, a dart could do a lot more damage. According to the Sabi Sands, hyenas don't always make it when they're darted, so you've got to weigh up those options. Although the human response, our innate response, is to always want to help. It's horrible seeing Tswazi like this. You know, we love Tswazi, he's in our camp every single night, but would it damage him? He's a young hyena, remember, he lost his mother very young, too young, when he should have still been in milk. Oh my goodness, that is a wonderful sight, but I think that gives a clear indication that it's a male. That's a normal hyena greeting ceremony right there. And yes, what I was trying to say, by darting an animal, it's traumatic. It can actually, not all hyenas are said to survive. So my point is the Sabi Sands who are qualified, they have the vets and they have the right people on board. They will make the decision and they will make the absolute right decision, I can assure you. Humans have obviously caused this indirectly, and imagine if humans were to then again intervene to try and save this animal and it didn't make it. That would be awful. So I am really sorry, everyone. I'm slightly heartbroken at that. BK saw Tswazi and got very excited that there was no wire, but there's just been a mistake made along the way. And I think he's looking well. Hi, Tswazi. He's probably going to come straight for my shoes. It really wouldn't surprise me. That's very loose. There's no blood. It's not digging into his neck. It's still not right in any way, shape, or form. I just wanted to clarify that to you all. There's been a mistake. He's a young hyena. He lost his mum Pretty, but he's still got his, yes, he lost his mother Pretty, but he's still got his sister in the belly. He was born in September 2018, so he's not even 2 years old yet, and you know, he really lost his mum too young, so he missed out on the richness of that milk. You can see how tender the cubs are with him. See how tender he is with them. And many of you are thanking me for that explanation. You're welcome. We got it wrong, and it was a little bit sad to know that we got it wrong because it was not intentional. But yes, we will absolutely do the right thing, and it's the Sabi Sands decision at the end of the day. And they will make the right one. Absolutely, they will. It's just sometimes humans intervene too much, and we end up making the wrong decision. Shoe. Shoo, shoo. No, not my shoe. Shoo, shoo. Okay, there's another hyena coming in. We'll try and ID it for you, but we're going to sit tight and wait to see what happens. You guys are going to cross to Steve.
Thanks, Lauren. Well, we lost the wild dogs, everybody. As you know, we couldn't find them. Who knows where they've gotten to, but it's getting to that time of day when you're not really going to be able to spend time with them anyway. So I thought I'd quickly pop over to One-Eyed Pan on Simbili, as I promised, and see if the hook decided to have a little visit. There were some fresh tracks this morning in the area, but we weren't able to find him. And when I say hukumuri, it's because the track was actually leaving a bit of a mark. For example, if you looked at someone who's limping, the way that they placed their foot, that is what we could see. I don't know when last he was seen. It's been some time. I wonder if anyone can tell me. When last was Hukumuri seen on camera? Hopefully not the last time I saw him. That's ages ago. Okay, well, here is the wonderful One-Eyed Pan. A wonderful place to do some birding. I've been attempting to try and do some birding this afternoon, find a nice watering hole, but so much has just sort of gotten in the way along the way. Well, we finally made it to the pan I said we would get to. We are on Simbili now, Simbili Private Game Reserve, and wonderful to spend some time on this new property for us. So peaceful. There's almost no noise at all. Peaches says lovely indeed. Peaches, how wonderful is this? Some arrow mark babblers calling. We'll do a little loop around this area and see if maybe he pops out. So you never know. We might be lucky.
I've just witnessed the most insane behavior from hyenas. I've never seen it before. There's 2 new hyenas on the scene. One of them tried to stalk Ntima. And when I say stalk, I mean exactly what the cats do, just like a leopard. When you see Kalamba lifting one leg up at a time like a ballerina. This hyena just did this to try and stalk up on Ntima. I've never seen a hyena do that before. Hyenas are morphologically and behaviorally a lot more like dogs, a lot more like the Canidae family, but they are closer related to cats in terms of, this is Comet. We've got Comet here. You can see immediately from that right eye. They seem to be quite relaxed around Comet, but I can't figure out who the other hyena is that they're not relaxed around. Oh my goodness, this is a very active den site right now. Comet's anal pasting, everyone. That's scent marking in the world of hyenas. Turning your anus inside out to paste a oily, fishy substance on the vegetation is how hyenas scent mark. Yes. Bet you didn't think you'd ever hear that before. I just spoke to Michelle. He's on the case with Swazi. And I'm sure you all know how much we care about hyenas, especially myself. We will do what is right for Swazi here. And I get this feeling, without trying to anthropomorphize too much, I obviously spend a lot of time with these animals, watching, observing. Most of the time they're just sleeping and letting off some gas. However, Ribbon is very, very gentle and tender with Swazi, and I wonder if there's some sort of connection. Ribbon probably knows that Pretty, his mother, is no longer with us, and he's just a lost little boy. He's a lovely hyena, Swazi. And I also think that Ribbon is a wonderful matriarch. I really do. Just like Waffles in the Masai Mara, Waffles was also very low ranking and made it to the top. But she stayed friends with all of the low rankers. And when I say friends, obviously that's probably not the right term, but she maintained her relationship with all of the low rankers, even when she became the highest. I think Ribbon's also going to do something very similar. She wasn't born with a silver spoon in her mouth. Not even close. She was born at the bottom, from rags to riches. Michelle, you're saying Ribbon is wonderful. There is no doubt. Oh, she is. She really is. She'll have some sort of memory of being at the bottom. She knows what it's like to be the lowest ranking hyena. She didn't start at the top. She climbed up, and I just think something makes me feel like that stays within them. Same with Waffles, the matriarch in the Masai Mara, and the same with Ribbon. Look how much she trusts Swazi. Or they're not related. But Ribbon completely trusts him. He's just a youngster. And he's very, very tender towards the cubs. I'm just sad to see that wire. But he is known to put his head in the most awful places, and I just wonder if it's been some sort of accident. And it's not a snare. And now Swazi is anal pasting. Oh, now the cub's doing it. Ngwazi's going to try and anal paste. The cubs are not really market territory, they're just copying the adults. Okay, of course, as many of you have already guessed, I am not going anywhere. Okay, apparently you're still with us. I was just about to get on the phone to Michelle there. I'm glad I didn't. He's on his way. Michelle's on his way to also see Swazi. I think you need to see him to fully understand the sort of severity of it. And in order to do that, I'm going to try and roll forward to leave space for Michelle. Let's see if my vehicle will roll. Okay, Beaks? It probably won't. Oh, there we go. I'm not sure that made any difference, but I tried. Okay, so now you really are leaving us, and you're going to go across to the hyena's worst enemy.
So these lions have just started to move a little bit more. I'm not going to hold my breath yet, and they could walk and settle down a few more meters. The biggest difference was that a couple of the adult females spent a long time grooming So that one that you can see in the distance there, those two are the two middle-aged lionesses. And so that they've just disappeared. The next one that's just sat down, she is the youngest one with the two youngest cubs. And then this one directly at the back is the oldest generation. And you can just, even from there, you can see the size. And without a single noise, they've gotten up, and so there we go. 10 meters down the line, they've sat down again, but it's encouraging signs for sure. The adults are definitely looking quite intent all of a sudden, and again walking away from the waterhole, which I find quite surprising. A few of the cubs are now reacting a little bit further off to the left, and so now they've got their heads up, and I'm sure they'll get up and follow them shortly. And so there you go, there's a couple of the cubs. They seem to be just watching for now. I think they also might just be looking pretty much the same thing that we're doing. They don't want to move if these lionesses only walk another 10 meters. There's no point for them to get up and move again. I just find it so fascinating how they're able to just read the cues of the different pride members and be able to know exactly what's going on. And then we've got a group of teenagers that obviously slept in much later than what the adults have, and they are unaware. None of them have picked up their heads yet to see their mothers disappearing. They might be in for quite a shock if they disappear completely. But it's amazing. I mean, for a very long time, they were all happy by themselves and they were resting in the sunlight. Now that the sun started to drop, they've all clumped together. And instead of using the sun and the ground to warm themselves up, they're probably using each other. And that's why we've got one big cat pile over there. So just behind one of the bushes, we've got where that lion is coming from now. I've got sign of that young male that's lifted up his head. He's yawning, so he's probably going to get up shortly. Megan, absolutely. The dynamics of this pride is quite fascinating. And I mean, I think the highlight of my day was seeing those two related lions that were not part of the pride anymore, but are still essentially family. And they were so close to one another. I was so hopeful that there was going to be some sort of a rejoining or reunion at least. And this one, so that one that's just stood up, if you look at her, I mean, her such huge neck muscles and big shoulders. And that's the last of the oldest lionesses to get up and move. And so all of the adults are gone. It sounds like there's an elephant that's just joined the hyena. So let's see how the hyenas react.
Oh my goodness, all the elephants have just arrived. Hyenas have ran, cubs have gone inside. Elephants are not happy. Ribbons up. One cub's got his little head up. I think, no, two of them have. I don't know where the rest of the hyenas went. That happened so fast, but we've got Ribbon and Swazi standing guard. Wow. Complete standoff. This is amazing. I don't really think Ribbon's too bothered, to be honest. But the elephants are bothered. Hyenas are not scared of. Oh, Ribbon's going to sleep. Oh, Ribbon little. She lives a chill life. The cubs are back out. happens in a second. It's the elephants that are not happy, and I was explaining this the other day. You see how they all bunch together for safety, bunch together when there's a threat. Nancy, you're right, bush drama. Drama between the species. Swazi's trying to call Corky's cub. This little cub's scared. Ngwazi. It means adventurous. What are those big things? Oh yes, they're too big. They're too big. Oh my goodness, the elephants are coming closer. Oh my goodness. This is tense. Oh my goodness. Now I'm just going to keep talking because I also want these elephants to be aware of my presence. Elephants sometimes get displaced anger. So they're actually angry at the hyenas. The hyenas have not done anything wrong, but they're angry that they're there. And sometimes elephants are known, they've got a youngster. Elephants are known to take out their anger elsewhere, and that can be vehicles and humans. I just want to just keep talking and not be completely silent. But I think they are walking away now. Oh, ribbons up. Oh my goodness, the herd is split. We've got two separate herds. They're both coming from different sides. I hope these cubbies stay inside now that Mama's ran. Get back inside you. I can see you. Wow. Ribbon's hiding behind our car with Swazi. You two should not be popping your heads out like that. I feel like a protective auntie. The elephants are just going to walk on by. Shimbulu's still out. Oh, no, the two of them are out. Swazi's coming back. He's right in front of the vehicle. He probably wants to try and protect the cubs. Agree. I'm going to do it in that voice. You two get in that house immediately. Alan says so. Nope, Alan, it's not working. Get inside. Oh, they're curious little monkeys, aren't they? Oh, Swazi. He's just watching them. That's very sweet. Swazi's a very special hyena. think this is one of the most spectacular sightings I have ever had at the hyena den. The elephants are pretty much gone now. You can probably hear them crunching branches, but they've left. Oh, many of you are saying, what a standoff. You're right, what a standoff. Ribbon's not too bothered, really. She ran, though, and she knows the cubbies will run inside. The elephants could have charged those cubs. Sorrow, it is so special, I agree. For so many reasons. I've got Swazi boy. You know me so well, don't you? Swazi boy, who we've managed to get to check up on, protecting the little cubs. We've got Ribbon, we've got Intima, Comet ran. I feel like I can breathe now. I've been sitting on the edge of my seat. I'm always sitting on the edge of my seat because I'm short, but you know what I mean. Okay, I'm going to breathe a little bit now, and you guys are going to go back across to the lions.
And these lions certainly are. They literally have gone straight into action, and just look at the cubs. Look at how focused they are. They've got the ears pinned forward. They're moving very, very slowly. Just up ahead of us, slightly more to the left-hand side, there was, I think, a warthog that was coming home for the evening. There was a burrow, and these lions intercepted it, and this warthog just managed to get away. And so what the adults are doing at the moment is sitting at the top of the burrow, and they're waiting to see if it might return, or if another one might return, or they're sniffing around to see if there's a warthog in the burrow that might be worth them trying to dig out. And so they are approaching this mound very, very cautiously. You might see that just that little black tip in the bushes there is one of the adults. And there's one of the sub-adult cubs coming through now. It was so close. That warthog just managed to choose the right direction to walk, to sprint away, and it just managed to escape these lions. Would have been the perfect start. Get a nice warthog snack to start the night. Now look at this cub, look how carefully it's placing its feet. Yeah, look, there's one of the adults now, and see how she's still sniffing around. And those pupils are dilated. She's very, very interested. It seems like she's now probably realizing, Lydia, you can see how focused and how much they're concentrating for sure. And this lioness now, after climbing that small mound, it seems like she's just taking some time to scan up ahead before she decides to drop down again. That was unbelievable. It was so, so, so close. Here comes one of them, the cubs again. But again, just looking at each other's body language, how the whole pride's character has changed from sleeping lions, enjoying the afternoon sun, to switching to these ferocious predators looking for something to feed on. Except that one. He's still ready to sleep. It's so typical of these male lions just to take the back seat and wait. But I think a few of the younger cubs might have even gone in towards where the burrow is to sniff around. And because these cubs are still moving back and forth, tells me that the adults are somewhere just here. So I'm going to give them some time to figure out what they want to do next. If the cubs start crossing over the termite mound and walking down, then we'll try again. But that was unbelievable. There's one more cub. There we go. Yeah, so we're going to stick it out. Got another 13 minutes or so for something to happen. So everyone cross fingers, hold thumbs. But let's go and check on those hyenas and see if those elephants have moved off.
Luckily, the hyenas are absolutely fine. Big brother well, he's not the brother, but you know, inverted commas, big bro is looking after them. Ribbon's still here, don't worry, she's just on the other side. Ribbon and Tima, I'm just going to show you so that you know they're both still here. There we go. And of course we're in infrared. That was the infrared light you see there, not any artificial light. And that's because there's no ambient light anymore. And therefore we have to view the hyenas and the cubs using our infrared technology, which is actually really cool. That was just amazing. I don't actually have any words anymore. Oh look, the infrared gives a really good sort of detail of this little spot pattern. There's a J. Shenzi, you're asking how many hyenas are now in the Djuma clan. So we have 5 adult females, and that is Ribbon and Tima, Heart, June and Corky. That's the 5 adults. Then you've got all these sub-adults, and so far we believe we have Swazi, this one, and Indabele, his sister. Then we have Sutu. Sawana's not been seen in a while, but we've not got confirmation on Sawana. Then we have these 2 little cubbies who are now named Shimbulu and Ngwazi. And then we've got Corky's little cub, who of course does not have a name yet, just a little bit too young. And then we've got the males. Now I think we've got 8 males. Let me just quickly try and see if I can run through them all for you. Recently, we have Folko, named after Mr. Steve Falconbridge. And we have Luca, Fika, Saka, Kaikau, Comet. Koza's not been seen in a while. There's a few concerns about Koza. And let me just see, I always forget one. Okay, that's all I can think of right now. But yes, so it's really not a big clan. That's a small clan for hyenas, especially in comparison to the likes of the North Clan up in the Masai Mara that I always say is about 90 strong now. It could even be more than that. It's a huge clan, a wonderful clan with great history. Waffles was the matriarch. She was also a low ranker. So she conducted a matriarchal takeover with a girl army. And she became a fantastic matriarch, really. She's an incredible hyena. And she was always witnessed or observed being very tender and gentle and spending time with low rankers. It was almost as if she still had that sort of thinking that she was a low ranker, but at the same time she'd made her way to the top, if that makes any sense, because she always seemed to remember what it was like to be at the bottom, which is so incredible. And I think Ribbon's going to be exactly the same in that respect. And Waffles got old, as all animals do, and she appeared to do something incredible called a handover. She handed the matriarchal position to her granddaughter Soup. So kept it in her own sort of DNA, her own bloodline, and she just stepped down, which is another thing that's really not that common in the world of hyenas. So Waffles is also an incredible hyena. So we haven't got too long left, but I'm going to sit tight and see what else goes down in the bush drama.
And you're back with us in the darkness with the spotlight out, everybody. Hope you all have had a wonderful afternoon. I'm super excited being back today, finding some tracks this morning, interpreting some tracks, and then finding some wild dogs. highlight for the day. Welcome back to the bush. Indeed. It was a very special place, the Greater Kruger National Park. If you've never been before, and this is one of my favorite times of the year. Sort of in July, August, the dead of winter. Makes tracking a little bit easier. The vegetation's still looking pretty good compared to last year. If you recall, last year there wasn't a blade of grass anywhere. That's why we're seeing buffalo. Sorry about that. That's why we are seeing buffalo everywhere. An elephant. Still lots of food. My second favorite time of year is when there's wild flowers everywhere and all of the birds, of course. The nice seasonality of this place keeps it very, very interesting. YY wants to know when I'm going to be doing some plants. Well, YY, there's no flowers out at the moment, but I am planning on doing something tomorrow with trees, with the plant. I haven't decided which one. We'll have to just see in the morning, because tomorrow is what? Yes, it is Monday. So I do plan on pulling out some medicinal magic over the next few weeks. I'm here for 3 weeks, so we can do at least 3 of them. And I'll also be focusing a lot on plants. When you get drives when it's pretty quiet, there's always a tree to go to. This morning it was starting to get to that point, and then we picked up on leopard tracks and a drag mark and just got all exciting again. So I am planning on doing a lot more vegetation while we're here. Those plants that are left in it will be interesting, because I'll be focusing on plants that the elephants are actually utilizing, and we can maybe go into detail about why the elephants are potentially eating these things, and why we eat them or use them for medicine. Huge amounts of medicinal properties are locked up in vegetation around the world. Pretty much all the pharmaceuticals you know of that you buy in the shops have come from some plant origin. Some impalas here. Sorry, ladies and sirs. David, giving the public what they want. Yes, David. I look forward to it. I look forward to doing some more plants. And who knows what I'm going to do. You're just going to have to wait and see for the morning. Okay, well, we're just going to do a little loop of quarantine here, see if we can get any luck. In the meantime, back over to the Djuma clan.
I'm very much enjoying my hyenas. I don't enjoy anything, well, as much as I enjoy watching the hyenas. Now, just an update. Michelle is picked up a representative of the Sabi Sands, and they're on their way. Now, they won't dart at night. It doesn't work like that. They're just coming to make an assessment. So you will hear vehicles. People are coming to see Swazi. They want to just look, is it a snare? Is it not a snare? And what will they do? Is it severe? Is it not severe? And although I won't be here tomorrow, which is sad, I will definitely make sure that Steve or Trishala, who will be back tomorrow, will update you on what the Sabi Sands decides. But they will know better than anyone what the right protocol is. And Swazi is a hyena that we know very, very well, everyone. And he didn't have that before. It's a recent thing. It's a few days old. And he's clearly absolutely fine. So we'll just let the Sabi Sands handle it from here. But they are on their way, so you will hear vehicles. And it's a good thing that he's still here. He's still stationary, which means, well, they can get a good look at him. It's not easy to locate a hyena. I can't believe how the IR brings out the spot pattern. You can really, really see their little spot pattern. many of you are thanking me for the update. Not a problem. We're a little bit sad we got it wrong, but we're trying. It's not easy, and I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. Hyenas maybe don't get as much recognition as the lions or leopards. They are just important, but maybe they don't get as much recognition. And of course, because we spend so much time with them, WildEarth, to bring light to them at how wonderful they are, we've obviously been able to pick up on this, and we try to follow them as much as we can. But I think we're really lucky that Swazi's shown up tonight. I'll miss the hyena den, but I will be back in 2 weeks, everyone. So you'll have the wonderful Tswalu and Steve for 2 weeks, and then I will be back. Butterfly, I agree. Hyenas are beautiful. I think they're stunning. They remind me of dogs, as in domestic dogs. They're not related to dogs at all. They're not part of the Canidae family. They're more closely related to cats if you had to choose between the two. But of course, they're... Don't you think about looking at my shoes, Swazi. It's right in front of the vehicle. Eyeing up my shoes. And don't go anywhere. And yes, of course, their closest relatives are the mongoose family. So they're really not related to cats at all, but between the cats and the dogs, they're more closely related to cats, if that makes sense, out of the two. But I think they behave like dogs, and I think they look a lot like dogs, and maybe that's why I love them so much. I'm a big dog fan. Now, we're going to sit here until the Sabi Sands representative gets here, actually, and see what they say. There's a vehicle there. I have a funny feeling that is them. So, of course, I will keep you updated, but let's give you a last few glimpses of these couples. Or maybe not. That didn't quite work, did it? They might pop their heads back out. Oh, there we go. Perfect. So everyone, it's been a pleasure this time round. It's been such a wonderful stint, filled with hyenas and filled with the joy of finding Corky's little cup. So I just want to say thank you to you all. Thank you to your comments and for your comments and questions. I'll be back in 2 weeks, and I hope to see you all then. So be sure to jump on tomorrow with Tswalu and Steve here at Djuma. And until then, have a great night or day.